100 river dolphins in the Amazon River were found dead, and it could be because of climate change. We're going to talk about that on today's episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. Let's start the show. Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lewin, and this is the podcast where you find out what's happening with the ocean, how you can speak up for the ocean, and what you can do to live for a better ocean by taking action. And today we're going to be talking about what's going on in the ocean. Unfortunately, it's not good news. It's actually really bad news. There were 100 dolphins, river dolphins, that were found dead just around the Brazilian Amazon River in a lake called Lake Tefé over the past 7 days. And this is according to the Mamirua, I think that's how you pronounce it, Institute. It's a research facility funded by the Brazilian Ministry of Science, so a government-funded ministry. Now, this government that's been put in place, that's in now, is actually very pro-environment. They've been helping out the Amazon River. They've been halting on a lot of development projects. They've been doing a really good job. So, we are seeing some progress in Brazil and within the Amazon River. However, climate change is still around, and we're going to talk about why it's important to maintain and continue the progress of the Amazon River in a little moment. But we're going to talk first about what's happening in Lake Tefé, which is where these dolphins were found. Now, this lake is probably a very salty lake compared to regular lakes, and these river dolphins are in there. Now, it looks like it's a pretty big population, but they said, look, this high number of deaths is unusual. And the suggestion that they suggested, experts have suggested that the record high lake temperatures and the historic drought that the Amazon is facing right now may have been the cause. It's not definite. We don't know for sure, but it's definitely not helping. The news says is likely to add the concerns of climate scientists over the effects of human activity and even extreme droughts that are having in the region. So according to one of the persons in the Institute, said that it's still early to determine the cause of this extreme event, but according to our experts, it is certainly connected to the drought period and the high temperatures in Lake Tefé, in which some points are exceeded 39 degrees Celsius or 102 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's a comment from the Institute carried out by the CNN Brazil affiliate. Now, the Amazon obviously is the world's largest waterway and is currently in its dry season, and several specimens of the river are also suffering from lake high temperatures. So that's, a problem not just with dolphins, not just with river dolphins, but it's also a problem with other animals that are within the river and within Lake Tefé. So they're trying to rescue the dolphins right now. There are a lot of activists, there are a lot of researchers that are working together trying to take the dolphins that are on the outskirts of the lake and in the lagoons and so forth, and trying to carry them and bring them back into the middle of the lake, in the middle of the river, and other parts of the river where they can actually be in cooler waters. Because obviously in the shallower part that's along the coastline will be hotter than in the middle part where it's a little deeper. But they said transferring dolphins to other parts of the river is not that safe because it's important to verify if toxins or viruses are present before releasing the animals into the wild. Here's where regular water quality monitoring and regular maintaining of river health becomes important. And I've talked about this before when we talk about climate change. We have to look at the whole encompassing part of an ecosystem. Governments and institutes and anybody who's in charge of water quality, even nonprofit organizations, have to hold people accountable for having bad water quality. Having bad water quality makes things even worse when climate change effects are happening. It's just like coral reefs. It's just like seagrass beds, right? Imagine this. We're having higher temperatures in Florida along lagoons and everything where manatees are, where there's an endangered manatee population, right? That's an important part of Florida. It's an important part for these animals to be in, and they need seagrass beds to be healthy so that they can feed off them. However, the seagrass beds have all but disappeared, or most of them have degraded, and they've degraded because of the poor water quality. We've gotten a lot of algal blooms that have hit. We've had a lot of red tide over the last number of years that have hit in Florida waters. And of course, temperatures being 100 degrees Fahrenheit at times this summer and multiple times this summer, is not helping the recovery of these seagrass beds because the algae continues to grow. So having more nutrients in the water is causing lakes and rivers and oceans to have more algae, and that's killing coastal habitats that are important to wildlife, like marine mammals, like manatees. So having impeccable water quality, ensuring that monitoring is being done, ensuring that the government is held accountable for not having good water quality is really important. Because when stuff hits the fan with climate change, having a healthy ecosystem can help make that area, that ecosystem, more resilient to climate change, help the animals become more resilient. Because if they're healthy, then that's important. Same with plastic pollution. We see plastic pollution in every part of the ocean, of rivers, of lakes. We've done multiple episodes on it. There have been multiple reports on it. And thank God there's a UN treaty to end plastic pollution coming up soon in 2025. But that's too long if you think about it. When you have plastic pollution everywhere and it's in the bodies and in the systems of these animals, such as dolphins, such as orcas, such as turtles, such as sharks and tuna and salmon, all these fish, all these animals that have plastic pollution in them and those toxins that go in them, they kind of hit their resiliency, right? They're making them not as healthy. So if you are not healthy and then all of a sudden your water quality goes to crap because the temperature is really, really high, it's really hard to maintain that resilience. So just imagine, just even using the example of COVID. I know it was controversial, but during COVID, governments came out and said, people who are healthy will be more resilient towards this virus. People who are not, people who have, immunocompromised systems, or they're older, or they're younger, and their immune system is not up to par with like a regular healthy individual, like say someone who's younger, like someone who's like, middle-aged in their 20s and 30s and 40s, or even in their teens, where they can be, their bodies are more resilient to fight off any kind of infection. The other people that are on the extremes, too young, too old, or they're immunocompromised, will be less resilient to the virus, right? That was what was said to us in the government. Now, I'm not trying to get into any kind of political debate about the virus or anything like that, but that's what your body's less resilient if you're sick. So if you have plastic pollution in you, or you have like if an ocean animal has some sort of like plastic pollution or any kind of toxins or anything like that, that could be a problem for you if you're a dolphin, if you're a turtle, if you're like a stingray, if you're a shark, if you're a fish, if you're any kind of animal that needs water to live in. If there is a higher temperature that's in there that's causing all those things that are bad with you to make it worse, then you're gonna be susceptible to that type of basically non-resiliency, right? You're gonna any kind of whack kind of thing that goes out to your sets the temperature off. You're not going to be as healthy. You're going to be more detrimental. So this is what's happening with these dolphins. These river dolphins are having really, really high temperatures. It's tough to find good water quality. It's tough to find good cooler water. And then when they are able to take a dolphin, let's think about this. They're trying to take dolphins, multiple dolphins, take them out of the water, transport them to another water body, taking them to a different ecosystem that may or may not have toxins in it. If they knew for sure it didn't have toxins in it, then they can just take them out, put them in, and they'd still have to adapt to the new environment, but at least we know they would be in good health. They would be in a good water quality state. And that is a big problem with what's happening here is the transferring of river dolphins is becoming more complicated because they don't know in one river or another if the toxins are too high. So now they got to test those rivers. In the meantime, we're working against the clock here because they're starting their dry season. They're in their dry season, but it could get worse. So the drought could get worse. The temperatures could maintain or even get higher in this situation. And so the susceptibility of the dolphins goes up. And obviously, that's not good. So unfortunately, droughts are coming. They're working against the clock. They have to maintain this water quality. And to not have this water quality is going to be a difficult thing to do in the future to handle these. So this is something that we have to be careful of. This is something that we have to push forward. And this is why water quality management, ecosystem management, maintaining ecosystem health, that doesn't normally get funded on a regular basis. I can't tell you how many times I've been a part, or I've been working with people who do regular water quality monitoring. And then you just see, when you look at the data, the gaps in years because the funding has been taken out depending on which government's in place or depending on what's happening with the economy. Maintaining that ecosystem health, whether you're on land or water, is going to be extremely important in the future when climate change can mess things up. If we know the state of rivers, this is around the world, any government, they know the state of rivers, they know the state of lakes, they know the state of oceans, and even land around that, then we can make better decisions and we can move quicker on saving animals such as these river dolphins, right? That's what it really comes down to. We need to make sure, with climate change, rearing its ugly head in a lot of different places that we may or may not have expected, we need to make sure that our bases are covered. Everything has to be covered. Everything has to be healthy. And that's just not the case right now. That's the crux of it, is a lot of these ecosystems are not as healthy because we've been letting all this stuff go because, governments have said, well, it's really not that important. Development and the economy has been more important. And this is where you have to hold your government official accountable, especially in places where they listen to you. And you just say, look, climate change is here and it's causing us to change a lot. And it's causing not only deaths to dolphins, but it's going to affect, and it's starting to affect humans. And we need to make sure that we're covering our bases. We make sure that the base ecosystems are healthy, or we're doing everything we can to ensure that they stay healthy. That's what it's all about. That's my message for you today. Unfortunately, these dolphins have passed away already in a span of 7 days. I'd like to see, obviously, that stop. And the people that are working there, we love the work that you do. Continue to help these animals as much as possible. And if there's any help that I can do, please reach out, and we can bring this more to light and get more people aware. So if you have any questions or comments on this episode and these dolphins, please let me know. You can DM me on Instagram at at How to Protect the Ocean. You can also go to speakupforblue.com. Just fill out the contact page, and you can just, that goes right to my email, or go speakupforblue.com/contact. That'll go right to the contact us page, and just fill out the form. It'll go right to my email. Not a problem. I'll answer it as soon as I can. You can also leave me a voicemail. If you go to the bottom right corner, there's a little microphone there on speakupforblue.com, and you can just leave me a voicemail. I'll answer that as soon as I can. And thank you so much for listening to this episode of the How to Protect the Ocean podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Lewin. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time, and happy conservation.